Imagine your brain is a muscle. Now, imagine that muscle is slowly wasting away, day by day, simply because it's starving for one specific fuel. You walk into a room and forget why you're there. You struggle to recall a name you've known for 20 years. We laugh and call these senior moments. But medically, these are often the first warning signs of hippocampal atrophy, the literal shrinking of your memory center. But what if I told you that you could stop this decay? More than that, what if I proved to you that you can actually regrow your brain matter, starting in just 30 days? No pills, no expensive surgeries. Just a biological reset button that is already inside you, waiting to be pressed. Hello, and welcome back to the Senior Wellness Center. I am Dr. Kenji Sato. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. Our mission here is to bridge the gap between complex medical research and your daily life, giving you the tools to age with strength and dignity. In my years of practice, I have noticed a dangerous trend. Patients often accept memory loss, brain fog, and slower thinking as inevitable consequences of the calendar turning a page. They surrender to the decline. But here, we believe that while aging is inevitable, cognitive decline is largely optional. Today, we are going to dive deep into a specific protocol that neuroscientists have been obsessed with for the last decade. This video is not going to be a collection of vague tips like do a crossword puzzle or go for a walk sometimes. We are way past that. We are establishing a precise medical protocol. We are going to track exactly what happens to your memory, your focus, and your actual brain structure when you commit to a specific routine for exactly 1 month. We will break this down biologically. We will look at what happens in week 1 when the initial resistance hits. We will see the chemical shift in week 2 and the structural changes by day 30. Now, before you click away, because you think this is just another generic fitness video, I need you to listen closely. We are talking about triggering a biological chemical reaction that acts like fertilizer for your neurons. It involves a protein called BDNF. If you stick with me until the end of this video, you are going to understand how to essentially upgrade your brain's hardware, restoring processing speeds you haven't felt in years. But to understand the cure, and to make it work for you, we first must understand the poison. We need to look at what is happening to your brain right now when you are sitting still. Because the reality is, modern life has trapped us in a sedentary cycle that is quietly but aggressively destroying our minds. Let's look at the biology of the sedentary brain syndrome and why your favorite chair might be your memory's worst enemy. To understand why your memory is slipping, we have to look at the environment your brain is living in. I call this condition sedentary brain syndrome. I want you to visualize 2 different bodies of water. On the left, imagine a rushing mountain stream. The water is moving fast. It is cold. It is crystal clear, and it is full of oxygen. On the right, imagine a swamp. The water is still. It is stagnant because it isn't moving. Algae begins to grow. Toxins accumulate. It becomes murky and uninhabitable. Biologically, this is the perfect metaphor for your brain. Your brain is a calorie-hungry machine. Even though it only makes up about 2% of your body weight, it consumes 20% of your body's oxygen and glucose. It has a massive appetite. When you are moving, your heart is acting like a powerful pump. It fights gravity, pushing fresh, oxygenated blood up into the cranium, nourishing those cells. But when you sit for 6, 8, or 10 hours a day, which is the average for most modern adults, that pump slows down. Your heart rate drops to near sleep levels. Blood begins to pool in your legs and feet. The flow of fresh nutrients to the brain slows to a trickle. And here is where the damage begins. The hippocampus, that memory center we talked about, is extremely sensitive to oxygen levels. It is the canary in the coal mine. When blood flow drops, the hippocampus is the first area to suffer. It essentially begins to suffocate. Without a steady stream of fuel, the neurons there stop firing efficiently. Eventually, they begin to disconnect and die. This is the atrophy we see on MRI scans. But starvation is only half the problem. The other half is pollution. This is a concept that very few people talk about, but it is critical. Your brain cells are living things. Just like every other cell in your body, they consume energy and they produce waste. We call this metabolic waste. Every time you have a thought, solve a problem, or form a memory, your neurons produce byproducts, including proteins like beta amyloid and tau. If you have heard of Alzheimer's disease, you know that these proteins are the sticky plaques that clog up the brain and kill neurons. In a healthy, active body, your brain has a cleaning system. It uses cerebrospinal fluid to wash these toxins away, flushing them out of the system. But here is the catch. This cleaning system relies on blood flow and hydraulic pressure to work effectively. When you are sedentary, the janitor goes on strike. The flow isn't strong enough to flush out the waste. So, what happens? That metabolic trash starts to pile up in the hallways of your mind. This accumulation creates inflammation. It disrupts the electrical signals between your neurons. This is what you feel as brain fog. It is why you feel sluggish in the afternoon. It is why you can't find that word. You are literally trying to think through a swamp of metabolic waste. Your neural signals are getting stuck in the sludge. If you do not clear this waste, it hardens. It becomes plaque. And once that plaque is formed, it is incredibly difficult to remove. So, when we talk about this 30-day protocol, we are not just talking about burning calories. We are talking about turning that swamp back into a river. We are talking about manually restarting the pump to flush out the toxins that are currently clouding your memory. This brings us to week 1. The objective here is simple, the flush. But I have to warn you, the first few days are going to be the hardest. Welcome to week 1, day 1 through day 7. I call this phase the cortisol flush. The objective here is not to build muscle yet. It is to lower the stress hormones that are currently blockading your brain function. Here is the protocol. For the next 7 days, you are going to commit to 30 minutes of continuous aerobic movement every single day. And this is the most critical part of the entire video, you must do this in a specific heart rate zone. We call this zone 2. Zone 2 is the metabolic Goldilocks zone. It is not a leisurely walk in the park, which is zone 1. That is too easy to trigger the changes we need. But it is also not high-intensity interval training or sprinting, which puts you in zone 4 or 5. If you go too hard, especially in the beginning, your body perceives it as a threat. It releases more cortisol, the stress hormone, which is exactly what we are trying to eliminate. We need to hit that sweet spot right in the middle. So, how do you know if you are there? The analog way to test this is the talk test. In zone 2, you should be breathing heavily enough that you can speak a full sentence, but you certainly couldn't sing a song. If you can recite a poem easily, you aren't working hard enough. If you are gasping for air after 3 words, you are working too hard. However, in my practice, I have found that human perception is often wrong. We tend to overestimate how hard we are working. This is where medical precision becomes non-negotiable. You cannot manage what you do not measure. Relying on guesswork for your heart health is a gamble I do not recommend. If you are serious about this protocol, you need objective data. I strongly advise using a simple, reliable heart rate monitor or fitness tracker to ensure you are staying strictly within that 60 to 70% max heart rate window. It acts as your biofeedback dashboard, keeping you honest and keeping you safe from overtraining. If you don't have one, or if you are using an old one that isn't accurate, I have put a link in the pinned comment below to the specific tracker I recommend for Zone 2 training. It is accurate, it is simple to use, and it is the best tool to guarantee you are actually getting the medical benefits of this time investment. Now let's talk about what happens to your body during this first week. I will be honest, day 1 will feel great because you are motivated. But day 3 and day 4, they are going to be difficult. Your body is going to resist. You might feel physically tired. You might feel heavy. This is normal. Your body is upregulating its energy production systems. But by day 6 or 7, you will notice something subtle but profound happening at night. High cortisol is the enemy of sleep. It keeps your brain in a state of fight or flight, preventing deep rest. As this daily Zone 2 exercise burns off that excess cortisol, your nervous system finally gets the all-clear signal to relax. you will find yourself falling asleep faster. And more importantly, you will stay asleep. This deep sleep is crucial because it is the only time your brain's glymphatic system, that janitor we talked about, powers up to full capacity. So by the end of week 1, you haven't grown new brain cells yet, but you have successfully taken out the trash. You have cleared the construction site. The fog is lifting. You are waking up feeling slightly sharper, slightly more present. And now that the site is clear, we are ready to start building. This brings us to the magic of the middle phase. Welcome to phase 2, day 8 through day 20. I call this phase the fertilization. By now, the initial soreness has faded. Your body has accepted the new routine. The resistance is gone, and the biological magic begins. This is where we break one of the oldest myths in medicine. For decades, scientists believed that you were born with a set number of brain cells, and that was it. They thought that once adulthood hit, you could only lose neurons, never gain them. We now know that was completely wrong. Around day 10 of consistent zone 2 training, your brain begins to produce significant levels of a protein called BDNF. That stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. In the neuroscience community, we have a nickname for it: miracle grow for the brain. Just like fertilizer helps a plant sprout new roots, BDNF triggers a process called neurogenesis, the birth of brand new brain cells, specifically in the hippocampus. Imagine your memory is a forest. Without BDNF, the trails are overgrown, the trees are weak, and nothing new can grow. But now, with every workout, you are drenching that forest in supernutrients. New pathways are forming. The connections are getting stronger. However, there is a catch that most people miss. And this is why some people exercise, but don't see the cognitive results they want. BDNF is just the signal. It is the architect with the blueprints saying, build here. But an architect cannot build a house without materials. You cannot build new brain cells out of thin air. You need physical building blocks. Your brain is the fattiest organ in your body. It is roughly 60% fat by weight. And the specific type of fat it needs to build these new cell membranes is omega-3 fatty acids. If you are triggering neurogenesis with exercise, but your diet is low in omega-3 south, you are essentially asking your body to build a skyscraper without steel or concrete. It physically cannot do it. This is where supplementation becomes a strategic medical tool. To maximize the effect of the BDNF you are creating, you need to flood your system with high-quality building materials. I always tell my patients, exercise is the spark, but omega-3 is the fuel. You need both. Finding a pure source can be tricky, so I have done the research for you. I've listed a lab-tested, high-potency omega-3 brand in the description below that pairs perfectly with this routine. It's the specific formulation I recommend to ensure you aren't just stimulating growth, but actually completing the construction. Let me tell you about a patient of mine. Let's call her Susan. She was 68 years old and came to me terrified because she kept forgetting her grandchildren's names. She started this protocol. The first week was hard, but around day 14, something clicked. She came into my office beaming. She told me she was doing a crossword puzzle and the answers were just appearing. She said, "Dr. Sato, it felt like someone wiped the fog off my windshield." That is the power of BDNF combined with the right nutrition. Her brain wasn't just working harder. It was physically younger. She was remembering names instantly. Her conversations were sharper. She was back in the driver's seat of her own mind. And we aren't even finished yet. Because once we have built these new cells, we need to make sure they survive. We need to secure their future. And that leads us to the final structural phase of the transformation. Welcome to phase 3, day 21 through day 30. This is the structural transformation. By this point, the habit is formed. You are waking up without hitting snooze. But biologically, something profound is happening to your vascular system. We are now witnessing angiogenesis. This is the creation of brand new blood vessels. Remember that stagnant swamp we talked about in the beginning? It is gone. Your brain has built a new network of highways, fresh capillaries that are delivering more oxygen and more glucose to your hippocampus than you have had in years. You have literally upgraded the fuel lines to your engine. This is why complex problem solving starts to feel effortless. You aren't searching for words anymore. They are just there, ready and waiting. But there is one major pitfall that catches people in this final week. I see it all the time. Patients come to me saying, "Dr. Sato, I feel great physically, but I'm getting a headache in the afternoon," or "I feel a little dizzy." This is almost always a sign of neural dehydration. Because you are now exercising consistently, you are sweating. Even if you don't feel dripping wet, you are losing fluid. But you aren't just losing water. You are losing electrolytes sodium, potassium, magnesium. Your brain runs on electricity. Neurons communicate by firing electrical signals. Electrolytes are the conductors for that electricity. If you just drink plain water, you might actually dilute these minerals further, making the brain fog worse. It is like trying to run a high-performance laptop with a frayed power cord. The power flickers. To keep your new high-performance brain firing at top speed, you must replace these minerals. I highly recommend adding a clean electrolyte supplement to your water bottle during or after your session. But be careful, most sports drinks are loaded with sugar, which causes inflammation. We don't want that. I have linked a sugar-free medical-grade electrolyte mix in the description that I use personally. It keeps your neural firing rates high without the sugar crash. So we arrive at day 30. You have completed the cycle. If we were to put you in an MRI machine right now, compared to day 1, the difference would be measurable. Your hippocampus is robust. The gray matter is denser. The blood flow is optimized. You have better emotional regulation because the connection between your prefrontal cortex, your logical boss, and your amygdala, your emotional alarm, is stronger. You are calmer under pressure. You learn new skills faster. You recall memories with clarity. You have effectively hit the reset button on your cognitive decline. But here is the reality. Day 30 isn't the finish line. It is the starting line. We started this video with a terrifying reality. The image of a brain slowly shrinking, suffocating in a swamp of its own neglect. But look at where you stand now. You have the knowledge to change that narrative. You have moved from a state of decay to a state of growth. You have drained the swamp. You have restarted the pump. You are turning your mind from a flickering light bulb into a high-performance engine. But I must remind you, biology loves consistency. Day 30 is not the end. It is simply the day the habit becomes automatic. Neuroplasticity is like compound interest. The investment you make in these first 30 days will pay dividends for the rest of your life. A year from now, you could be the person who remembers every detail, who learns new languages with ease, who stays sharp while others fade. But it all starts with a decision you make right now, in the next 10 seconds. I want to issue a challenge to this community. I want to see who is truly serious about their cognitive health. If you are in, I want you to go to the comments section right now and type 4 simple words. Day 1 starts now. Make that public commitment to yourself and to us. When you write it down, it becomes real. I will be down there hearting your comments to cheer you on. And to make sure you don't fail, I have curated the Brain Reset Toolkit we discussed, pinned in the top comment below. It contains the precise fitness tracker to keep you in zone 2, the high-potency omega-3 south to build your new cells, and the electrolytes to keep them firing. These are the tools I trust. They remove the guesswork so you can focus on the work. Now, you have the movement protocol dialed in. You are growing new cells. But there is one thing that can undo all this hard work instantly. You can run every day, but if you are putting the wrong fuel into your body, you are poisoning the very cells you are trying to save. There are 5 specific foods that are essentially kryptonite for your memory, and you probably have at least 2 of them in your kitchen right now. To complete your transformation, you need to watch this video next. Top 5 foods that destroy memory. It is the perfect companion to the exercise routine we just built. Click right here, and I will see you over there to continue this journey. For the Senior Wellness Center, I am Dr. Kenji Sato. Stay strong, stay moving, and never stop growing.